fizzing bag of chemicals fizzing blood down your nose. See, when we get to that point, the argument breaks apart. Why does the argument break apart? Well, because deep down, they have to steal from the Christian worldview to make their ethics work. And the problem is they don't want to make that jump. So they want the standard without the belief. Well, Provine also believes there's absolutely no meaning at all in life. Solomon is writing to the objections he just rose. If there is no purpose to life, then why live life? If there is no purpose to life, then why pursue knowledge? And notice what he says, then I said in my heart, what happens? What is the fate of the fool? Now, here's the thing, as parents, you're going to have kids go, oh, he said a bad word. We need to retake some of our language. One is the word ignorant, and the other one is the word stupid. Stupid is not a cuss word. I know parents, you're trying to teach your kids don't call people stupid, but sometimes they are. Especially that guy, coming back from Kansas City. I'm sorry, folks in Kansas City, they can drive fast in parking lots, but slow on the interstate. Drove me insane. Left lane, doing the speed limit. Who does that? Kansas City, folks. Certainly not people in Texas. We run you over. But repeatedly, there was somebody that thought that I was traveling way too fast and making good time. And they would pull into that left lane and slow down. So you ought not get worked up over that. It was a 10-hour drive. I was making it in 8. You slowed me down. Just kidding. Ignorant. I don't know a thing and have acted ignorantly. Uneducated. Once educated, if they make the mistake again, they're stupid. That's the proper terminology. That's how it's used. So, kids, that doesn't give you license to go and look at your teacher and say, I've educated you, now you're, and don't do that. Mom and Dad will get a note from school, you'll get a whipping, and everybody will be happy. Don't do that. Don't do that. And don't go to the pastor said you could do it, because then I'll whip you. But the fool in this category being said here is a stupid fellow, a dullard, a person of low mental capacity. Now, it's interesting that when he's talking about wisdom, he's using this phraseology. Notice what he says. What happens to the fate of the fool, the stupid person, will also happen to me, the wise guy. What's he saying? He's using that famous phrase, whether you're a king or queen or lowly street sweeper, eventually you will dance with the reaper. Come on, folks. None of you want to watch Bill and Ted? Come on. Gee whiz. This is going to be a hard room this morning. Maybe it's because I'm a doctorate degree and I know those things now. I'm kidding. I kid. But he's making the point that the wise and the fool, outside of a walk with a holy God, outside of a relationship with a holy God, have the same fate. Dr. Will Provine, who died in 2015, suffers the exact same fate as some idiot off the street. Why? Because no matter how smart he was, and he's a brilliant man, his fate and his end are identical. Was it Tyson DeGrassi? Going to have the same fate. Smart guy. Problem is, his views are absolutely contradictory to what he says. Because he tries to argue for naturalism, and he tries to argue for materialism, and you cannot make that work at all in this worldview. And he's going to suffer the same fate. And as a matter of fact, since you suffer the same fate, and here's the thing is, because he's making the distinction between a life without God and a life with God, since both suffer the same fate, then both are being stupid because they know the existence of a God. And they're willfully choosing not to be obedient. It's a double entendre. It's a play on words. For the wise as the fool, there is no enduring remembrance, seeing that the days to come will have long been forgotten. I know who Dr. Will Provine is. Many of you, even though you've seen his name up on the board and watched the video of him a couple of years ago, have no concept of who that guy is. And outside the scientific community, he has no name and no legacy. There have been wise people that have lived and walked on the face of the earth that have died, and you know very little about who they are. Yet at the time, their pursuit was as though it was the all-encompassing pursuit of their life. And here he is looking at both the fool and the wise, and the pursuit of simply pursuing these things just for the pursuit of them. They end up in the same spot. And the argument in the refrain that the author wants you to hear is, without the standard of a holy God. Now, how do we know that? Because he's going to tell us here in a moment. How the wise dies is just like the fool. So I hated life. I viewed life as an enemy, because what was done under the sun was grievous for me. For it was vanity, it was striving after one. What I did in earthly pursuits, what I did in all of my earthly gain, whether it's wisdom, whether it's money, whether it's relation, whether it's sex, whether it's drugs, whether it's alcohol, pick a vice, pick a thing. If I pursued that, I pursued it all. And I realized all that was grievous under the sun. It was vapor. It was striving after the wind. Next time on a windy day, let me know when you catch the wind. Take a cup with you. Put an end on it. It's a pursuit that never ends. Unless you're carrying plywood, driving a Jeep, or running a sailboat. And even then, you're only renting it. And he looks at all of this, and he comes to the realization that all of this, minus a pursuit of God, which brings wisdom, which brings knowledge, which can bring riches, which can bring all the things that sometimes we want in life, but outside of pursuing a holy God, does this under the sun has no lasting purpose. He's going to tell you why it has no lasting purpose here in a minute. So I hated all my toil in which I toiled. Now, he talked last week about pleasure, riches, gardens. And in the same chapter, he begins to refer to them as, it's right there, it starts with a T. It's like saying oil with a T on it, toil. Toil. Some of you pronounce it weird like toil and oil. Yeah, good luck with you. Yeah, it's not oil, it's oil. So anyhow, there, now we got English done. So, I hated all my toil in which I toiled under the sun. Everything I pursued eventually became the thing that ensnared and imprisoned me. It became my master. Essentially what he's saying. The pleasure I pursued eventually began to where I had to pursue it in order to have meaning in my life. The money that I pursued, I had to continue to pursue it. I couldn't stop pursuing it. Why? Because if I stopped, I would have nothing to define myself with. And so what it became was, it didn't become pleasure anymore. It actually became work. And not just work like, hey, I go to work because I like coming to work. It's like, it's a toil. Because it's done under the sun. Seeing that I must leave it to a man who will come after me, and who knows whether he will be wise or a fool. So all that I have gained, the gardens, the slaves, the wealth, the concubines, the wine, the vineyards, all these things he bragged about having in the first part of chapter 2, it now comes to realization that he is mortal and he is going to die. And what he has gained for himself is going to go to another individual. And the hope is he's a wise individual, But more than likely, what typically happens is it usually goes to whom? It goes to the fool. It goes to the dullard and to the stupid person. And then that person destroys it. Which is why when you look at folks that inherit large amounts of wealth, you'll see that that generational wealth usually is gone within 1 or 2 generations. You'll see folks that buy the lotto tickets and win the lotto, and I don't know the statistics, but the vast majority of them are poor within 4 to 5 years. Again. Why? Because they spent the money. They didn't have the wisdom to not spend the money in foolish ways. And we're talking about people winning multi-million dollars. They're going, you didn't save a little bit of it? I mean, you didn't put like a little bit away in the bank for like a rainy day to gaining like a little bit of interest? Nope, spent it all. Huh. You're kind of stupid. No. Yeah. Let's go. Yet he will be master over all for which I toiled, and I used my wisdom under the sun. All that I have acquired, all that I have gained, all that I have built goes to another man. That man is going to take it, and hopefully he does wisely with it, but more than likely he will not. And he will use all that I have built. And there are folks out there that, they amass all this, and they go, one day I'm going to actually use it all. No, I'm going to help you out. I amass quite a bit of things, and there's a lot of things that I have that I don't ever use. Why? Well, because if I use it, it lowers its value. Yeah, but who are you having the value for? You, or the value in the item, or value to something you pass on to your kids? And there's nothing wrong with building to pass on to your kids. We're going to talk about that here in a moment. But this is the pursuit for pursuit's sake. Why? Because he uses the phrase, under the sun. They're going to take all that I toiled and use my wisdom to gain, and then they're going to use it in an unwise manner. And so one of the questions you can ask yourself was, why pursue that at all? Right, exactly. That's the point. What gives definition to the pursuit is whether or not it's being done to the pursuit of a holy God. That's the constant refrain in the background of what's being said. How do I know? Because I've read chapter 1, 2, and 3. Matter of fact, that's the purpose of chapter 3, is not that we can sing a song that's an anti-war song, but there's a purposed existence of all things that are purposefully done by a holy God. That's its purpose. Not war bad, because that's how that song's used. Ooh. So I turned about and gave my heart up to despair over all the toil of my labors under the sun. Because sometimes a person who has toiled with wisdom and knowledge and skill must leave everything to be enjoyed by someone who did not work for it. This is also vanity and a great evil. Not only did I realize this stuff was going to go to someone else and they were going to enjoy it more than I did, or maybe not enjoy it well, misuse it and misuse it in a woeful manner, but notice what he says. They're going to, let's pick up here. I gave my heart up to despair over the toil of my labor, because sometimes it goes to someone who toiled with wisdom and knowledge and skill, but I must leave everything to be enjoyed with someone who did not toil for it. We've all seen this as parents. When we provide carte blanche for our kids, where they don't have to work for it or earn it, are they appreciative and take good care of the thing? Or are they unappreciative and have an expectation of you always providing those things? The man that works for the thing has an appreciation because he knows the hours that went into attain it. When I first started working, my dad told me, he said, listen, you got to understand, everything you buy has an hour attached to it. I didn't fully understand that until I started working hourly. Caroline started working, and she realized who FICA was. And I'm like going, absolutely. This is why I go around and tell you taxation is theft. It is. Go look at your pay and go, hey. Who's taking this money? It's theft. Satire, tax man. Purely satire. You got to say that way you don't get in trouble. But when you've earned the thing, you appreciate the thing. When you receive the thing and you've not earned it, it really doesn't matter how you use it, right? I'm pretty particular about my knives. I just worked and got a knife really, really sharpened. And I said, hey, can I borrow your knife? And I handed it to him. And instead of setting it down, he took it and then speared it right into rocky mud. He's lucky he had the knife, because he was going to get it all right, but not the way he wanted it. Why didn't he appreciate the edge I put on? Well, it wasn't his knife. Now, he didn't have to do the work to get the edge on there, so he just put that knife in the mud and chip it and ding it and dull the finish. Why? Because he knows that I was going to see. He didn't appreciate what I've done, nor did he appreciate the wisdom in making that knife sharp. Why is that? Because the knowledge and the pursuit wasn't to build and wasn't to build up for a holy God. It was just out of pursuit. And I taught that pursuit in his mind to those who would be getting my stuff. All of this pursuit, all of this gain, all of this riches, all these things that I've done under the sun, it's vapor. It's vapor. And he doesn't end there. Up until this point, he's used chasing after the wind or catching the wind. He now gives to you exactly what he means by vapor and what he means by chasing after the wind. It is vapor. That's what vanity means. And a great evil. Why is it a great evil? Because, as we saw in Sunday school this morning, Eli's sons were assisting Eli at the temple. And Eli did not raise his sons properly and in a fear of God, and they had no fear of God, and so they stole the sacrifices that were God's and consumed it for themselves. And the failure of Eli was that he did not discipline his sons when he could have and should have, and did not teach to them the right way to worship a holy God. So instead, he allowed them to continue to do so. Why? Because Eli benefited from their theft. Amassing for the sake of amassing is a great evil. Knowledge for its own sake is a great evil. Why? Because you do nothing with it. Wealth for the sake of wealth is a great evil. Why? Because you do nothing with it except try to get more wealth. Now, I'm not against being wealthy. Listen, I think we all ought to be healthy, wealthy, and wise. I think it's a great concept. Some of us have the drive. Some of us, that's our lot in life. And some of us have other responsibilities. But the whole purpose of all that should be done under the auspice of following after a holy God. Not in lieu of. And that's why it's a great evil. Notice what he says here. What has man from the toil and striving of heart with which he toils beneath the sun? For his days are full of sorrow, his works are vexation. Even at night his heart does not rest. This is also vanity. Man's work under the sun, man's toil under the sun, the work for the sake of work, and all these things, divorced from a holy God. Why? Because he's not anti-work. People read this and go, he seems like he's not anti-work. He's anti-work for the sake of amassing for oneself without doing anything to build or to benefit God's kingdom and those within it. I used to, in Italy, had a director of religious education. She was far on the left, and so we would have very spirited conversations. And one of her arguments as to why she was on the left was she goes, well, I think that sidewalks are important, and that only happens under socialism. And I looked at her and I said, the last time I checked, rich people hated walking in the mud. They'll build those sidewalks for themselves. And she goes, oh. I said, yeah. Go and look at some of those old houses that rich people built. They don't walk on the grass. They have sidewalks. They have really nice sidewalks. Very elaborate sidewalks. Why? Rich people don't like walking on the mud. Now, is there a middle ground between those two? Probably is. But one of the biggest problems that we have is we like to factionize. And then we like to kind of to look at that and go, well, hey, if I had what they had, if you had what they had, without a holy God, you would do exactly what they'd be doing. Why? Because a lot of our times and a lot of our issues that we have is more covetousness than following after a holy God. What has a man from all the toil and striving of his heart, which he toils under the sun? And the answer is, if it's vapor, the answer is, there we go, it's nothing. Nothing. Why? Because it's going to go to someone else. It's going to go to another family member. If you don't have family, it's going to be sold at auction. It's going to be sold at an estate sale. I've been to several estate sales, and I see other people's treasures. I think Todd and I were talking about that with estate sales, is that things in your house that you think are the absolute treasure is going to be sold for 50 cents at most. I was telling my friend Jason at the back, I said, if something happens to me, have my wife come to you because she's going to sell my guns for what I told her I paid for them. Not what I actually paid for them. So keep her from making that mistake. For all his days are full of sorrow. His work is a vexation. Even in the night, his heart does not rest. And we see this with folks that are constantly out to look for the next thing, the next item. How many of you have sat at night worrying about something and stay awake all night worrying about something? How many of you are like me? Don't be shy. I can keep myself awake by thinking about the faucet dripping in the other room. It's not hard. Let me ask you, by staying awake all night, did I fix the problem? All I did was rob myself of sleep. And that's the point. You've pursued this so much now that your whole time that you thought, I will build this to where I can rest. Now your rest is being robbed from you because now you're worried about someone stealing it. Something will get lost. It's being misused. I got to have another one. I know I have one. I used to hang out with friends that had collector little figurines, and they would have one in the box and then one they would play with. They go, well, why don't you open one in the box? No! If you open the box, it loses its value. Like going, so you're going to tell me that Mark McGuire doll is going to sell for millions one day? How many of you invested in Beanie Babies? I'll help you out. Your investment just went through the floor. Saturday Night Live did a skit on that one time. All of this is vapor. It has no meaning. Now, we ascribe to it all kinds of meaning. But at the end of the day, when we stand before a holy God, He is not going to ask you how big your record collection was, how big your car collection was, baseball cards, on and on down the road. It's not that those things aren't important and valuable, but outside of a will of a holy God, outside of a relationship with a holy God, they have no value. Why? Someone else one day is going to get it. There's nothing better for a person than that he should eat, drink, and find enjoyment in his toil. This also I saw is from the hand of God. For apart from Him, who can eat or who can have enjoyment? Now, this verse is horrifically perverted all the time, typically by Christians. Because typically we're the only ones that know of His existence. We read it as an Epicurean philosophy, Epicureanism. Let us eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we all shall die. It's Epicureanism. And it's not Christian. That is very much anti-Christian. And we read this the first little bit and go, ha-ha! Epicureanism. There's nothing better for a person that they should eat, drink, and find enjoyment in all of his toil. Ha! Then he's going to give you the refrain. Why should one do so? This is also, I saw, from the hand of God. See, the eating, the drinking, and the enjoyment of life can only occur if it comes from the hand of God. Why? See, because apart from Him, so without Him, that's what apart means. Without Him, who can eat or who can have enjoyment? Translation, the food on your plate. You may have worked for. You may have bought at the grocery shop. But it is not yours. It is God that has given you the money to be able to make that purchase. No, I work for it. I'm going to help you out. The very fact that you are bipodal and are able to walk is a gift from a holy God. The very fact that you were born in this nation and not in another nation is a gift of a holy God. All that you have upon the earth, and this is what he's saying, I can amass all these things, but it is not a gift. Why? Because it is God who gives me the ability to where I can eat and have enjoyment in those things. Why? Because I have a relationship with the God that grants it to me. I recognize from where the gifts come from, not from my hand under the sun, but from His hand above the sun. That's what he's saying. Apart from Him, who can eat and who can have enjoyment? Because he's not saying riches are bad. He's not saying that wealth is bad. He is saying they're bad if that's the only pursuit. He's not saying that wisdom is bad. He's not saying that houses. No, he's not saying any of that. But if that is your sole pursuit, the money, the riches, the wealth, and not the pursuit of a holy God, you will not enjoy the money, the riches, but you will by pursuing with a holy God. He finishes up. For to the one who pleases Him, the Him is God. God has given wisdom and knowledge and joy. But to the sinner, He has given the business of gathering and collecting only to give to one who pleases God. This is also vanity and striving after the wind. For the one who pleases God. Now notice he's brought this back full circle. Hey, listen, if you want to believe that there is no existence to life and I can do whatever I want in the pursuit of business and wealth and all these things, your end is equal to that of the fool. That's what he said. That's the argument. But for the one that pleases God, you see the distinction he's just made here in this text. Why? Because he's going to carry that through into chapter 3, which is why it's not an anti-war song, but a song about God's purposeful design. I've already given away some of it, so you'll fall asleep next week. Pay attention. The one that pleases God, God has given wisdom, knowledge, and joy. True wisdom, skill in battle, skill in hand, skill in all the things that you would do in life. Knowledge, the things that we acquire by learning more and more data and more things. And joy. Which means all the things that you pursue, if you pursue them with the will of a holy God and through the worship of a holy God, you can actually have enjoyment with them. Why? Because you will use those things to build community, and you will use those things to build the congregation. You will use those things to build the church. You'll use those things to have fellowship with one another. You'll use those things to help with the poor, and the widow and the orphan, and all the things that you now see in our social issues today. All those things can come from the individual and not from the state, because when the state does it, they're going to tax you, which again is theft. But from the wealthy and the wise. Why? You follow after God. And it brings joy. But then he gives this warning. But to the sinner, this category we've been talking about since chapter 1. He has given the business of gathering and collecting only to give to the one who pleases God. If you built your kingdom for you, your kingdom one day is going to go to someone else, and they're going to use it. If you built your wealth for you, it's going to go to someone who God wants it to go to and be for their benefit. And this is true in churches, in associations, in politics, in personal relationship, in families, and in the individual. The things we pursue for our own purpose and our own glory and our own gain and our own kingdom and all those things, they will go away, they will be given to someone else, and God will dispense them to those who will use it. And some will use it properly, some will misuse it and mistreat it. But you are, if you're in your rebellious state, nothing more than a gatherer of riches to be given to someone else. Now, if you thought about that while you're gathering your riches, you kind of make you think about not gathering your riches. Notice what it says. The one that pleases God, the one that's the sinner. And so he finishes out with this statement. For the one that's the sinner, this is vapor. It's vanity. It's like chasing the wind. The conversation about chasing the wind, we've talked about that, is doing something that has absolutely no end result or purpose. Why? Because you're never going to capture the wind. You're only going to be in a constant pursuit of it. And it's meaningless. You're here today. You've spent your life acquiring. You've spent your life pursuing. You've spent your life gaining for yourself. Believer, listen, I want to help you out. Christians fall into this trap all the time. They fall into the trap of, I built this for me. I built this for us. This is ours. This is my family's. This is X. And we're so worried that it will ever get misused or never used at all. And then one day we die and it's sold at auction for 50 cents. Why? Because you weren't doing it to please a holy God. You were doing it to please your sinful self. I'm going to call you to repentance today. Because the Christian life is not marked by at the end of the race who has the most stuff, but who has the greater walk with God. And so I'm going to call you to leave behind the worldly possessions of the life. Not saying that we sell them. I have a lot of things I like. But my utmost passion is the pursuit of a holy God. And so I'm going to call you to that repentance this morning as the praise team leads us out.